If you're an echoist and you want to get well, this is the video you're going to need to watch. And if you don't know what echoism is, it's the inversion of narcissism. Have a look at my page, there's loads of information on there. There are several steps to this, so I would suggest you save it and come back to it later if you haven't got time to watch it now. And the other thing I would ask is, if you are not an echoist but you think you know someone whose life has been blighted by narcissistic individuals, either their family, their friends or their intimate partners, then please send this on to them. Step 1, find a therapist or counsellor or psychologist who's going to be able to help you, someone who deeply understands the narcissistic dynamic. Step 2, take an inventory of just how absent you've been from your own life. How frightened are you of being seen and heard and of causing damage to other people just by you taking part in things and showing up to life? Step 3, inventory your relationships. How many narcissistic people have you got in your life at the moment? And they don't have to have NPD, but they could be people who dominate you, who speak for you, who push you around, and who require you to meet their needs, to be there to service them in some sort of a way. Just how many of those people are in your life, because they're probably going to have to go. Step 4, face and confront your fear of being seen as narcissistic, arrogant, cocky, up yourself, whatever phrase you want to use. Face your fear of that by starting to promote yourself a little bit more in whatever way feels deeply uncomfortable for you. The whole point of this is you can think of this as almost an exposure therapy, in the same way that recovery from obsessive compulsive disorder involves exposure therapy. One needs to be able to and willing to expose oneself to that which one fears. Step 5, start asking yourself, okay, if I was going to find the courage to speak to that person or those people, what would I say? Having imaginary conversations in your mind or with your therapist or written down about if you were someone who didn't lack the courage, if you were someone who had the balls to say exactly what they thought, what would the things that needed to be said be? And start getting those processes going in your mind of all the things that you are not saying that allow your life to tick along quite nicely, but without you really being authentic. Step 6, start looking at yourself in the mirror, talking to yourself in the mirror, recording videos of yourself talking to yourself, and then watch them back. Get used to seeing yourself, hearing yourself, and liking the face that you see back. There's something going on when we see and we look into the eyes of the other that help us to feel that we are real. When we're reflected back to ourselves through the eyes of someone else, it gives us a sense of existence. Even though you will be doing it to yourself, it's a great way to remind yourself unconsciously that you're real, you exist, you have a voice, you have a smile, you have a face, and it should be seen, and it should be liked, and it should even be loved. Step 7, spend some time with friends who are not going to rescue you, who are not going to be able to be recruited by you into being the narcissist in your life. Even if that person isn't a narcissist, you'd be amazed how many echoists actually draw people into that position without really being aware that they're doing it. Echoists want someone to take the lead. Spend some time with friends who are absolutely not going to do that for you and who are going to say, no, you need to do it. No, I'm not going to fill the space by talking. What do you think? People who actually care enough about you to do that work. Step 8, make a commitment to yourself that the next time you are forgotten, left out, or overlooked, you're going to say something about it. You can be really polite about it. You're going to be scared about upsetting people, but make an absolute commitment that in that moment, not 10 minutes later or a week later, you're going to say something, and then get ready for the afterburn that you're going to feel, because that's going to be really, really uncomfortable, but totally necessary, and over time is going to get easier and easier. Step 9, examine your own masochism. Examine the ways in which at times you might have actually enjoyed being hurt, which I know sounds completely crazy, but an echoist will understand this. At times, there can be a sick familiarity to being mistreated that most people don't want to look at. They don't want to talk about it. And finally, step 10, get ready to let go of your victimhood. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't deserve to consider yourself as having been victimized. Of course you have. but the fact of being victimized may well be keeping you in a fixed state of victimhood that is really not helping you at all. And being willing to let that go is really, really important.